that Torah and the Gospel were accepted as corrupt
Those
by the Muslims.
Allah is not saying the whole Torah and the whole Injil. Allah is mentioning about the reference to Prophet Muhammad in their books, which is still to this day present in there. So it's not the whole Torah and the whole Injil, which we say is corrupted. Neither do we say the whole Torah and Injil is preserved to this day.
Okay, but where does it say anywhere that the whole... So this is such a massive claim to say that the books I'm required to believe in, which are the Torah and the Injil, are so corrupt that there is no profit in reading them whatsoever.
Who said it's so corrupt?
I think that's the claim you just made.
No, I didn't make the claim. I said these books have remnants of truth in them. I've repeated this several times now. Now, when you read that verse, Allah is talking about a specific reference, which is the mention of Prophet Muhammad in the Old Testament and the New Testament. So the mention of Prophet Muhammad, okay, is in both the books to this day. And if you look at Isaiah 42, yes, you see the mention of a servant from God, yes, who the people of Selah and the people of Kedar, yes, the dwellers of Kedar, they will rejoice. And these both places, the people where the children of Kedar reside is in Saudi Arabia, and Selah is basically a mountain which is like very close to the Masjid al-Haram in Medina.
So that would be an
the Prophet's mosque
of the verses that are uncorrupt, that are within this corrupt.
Yes, exactly, exactly, yes.
I see what you're saying, but I'm still trying to reconcile what you've just said to mean that the Torah and the Injil have been identified as, apart from having a few shreds, it's almost gone the opposite. Instead of just having some corruption, it's totally corrupt, but with some shreds of light in it. Seems to be the proposition that you've just made.
Yeah, I didn't use the
lots and lots more.
I didn't use the word shreds.
Sure, I know.
So what I'm saying is that the best way to identify which is corrupt, which is actually the true Torah and Injil, the remnants of that, is if the message agrees with the Qur'an and the Hadith, then
because the criteria.
That message then is, which is still the truth, still remaining.
What do you think, Hashim, about Waraka's gospel? Because I didn't know he had one until... Who was the guy who was your friend who was here before? What's his name? We had a good conversation.
Zakir, yes.
Yeah.
Zakir Hussain.
When he said, and we both kind of smiled, where he said, the Torah and the Injil have enough to bring you to Muhammad. He said, there is enough truth still within the Torah and the Injil. And then he mentioned that Waraka had them. And I thought, I think about 6 months ago, I kind of made the claim that he couldn't have had them because they were being... But then, what do you think of this? This is Sahih Bukhari. It says...
Sorry, Colin, can I...
No, this is really important.
Okay,
come straight back. It's talking about Waraka. I'll be very, very brief on this. It said, Waraka, who was a Christian convert... Waraka. Say it again, I want to get it. Waraka.
No need to say Ra, just Waraka.
Okay. I'm not going to say it now.
That's fine.
Right? Who was a Christian convert and used to read the gospel in Arabic.
Yes.
Now this is saying there was a Arabic gospel that Waraka had that used to read, and not only that, it also says during the pre-Islamic period, Waraka became a Christian. He used to write the writing with Hebrew letters. He would write the gospel in Hebrew as much as Allah wished him to. And there's only one more verse here, and it also says. Waraka became a Christian and used to write the Arabic writing and used to write the Gospels in Arabic. So the Gospels that Waraka was writing, were they corrupt or uncorrupt?
Look, what Waraka was writing is based on what he got from the other Jewish people. So he was a scribe. All he was doing is copying and pasting it. If you look in modern language today, that's all he was doing. As far as whether it was the truth, whether it was corrupt, that is something else. You see what I mean?
So what you're saying is,
now
what Waraka was doing was writing from this corrupt Torah the true parts and writing them down.
No, I didn't say that. No, Waraka was not a Muslim. Okay?
No.
So he wouldn't necessarily abide by the same rules that the Muslims would. So as Muslims, we would look it through the lens and the prism of the Quran and Sunnah, unlike Waraka.
Yes.
That's the difference between Muslims and people who are not Muslims, even at that time. Okay, so going back to the first question which I asked you, how will you, as a Christian who believes in the sanctity and the truth within the Torah, which you have in your hands today, how will you verify what Moses said exactly after more than 1,000 years, without any sources to back up the truth and verify it.
As far as is humanly possible to verify, and using the earliest as the truest being the route that I'm going to take, the proposition for you would be, can you show me a better method than the earliest? So you've just said that there's no way of confirming that my 900-year pre-Islamic Torah is actually the Torah that is being referred to even in this.
Yeah, but Colin,
can you see there's a dichotomy in what you just said?
No.
Without this, and without you showing me any, this is your only source.
No,
there is no other Islamic
we got the Qur'an.
source. But
we got the Quran. We don't need that.
But you've also got the Torah and the Injil.
No, but we don't need the Torah and Injil. Colin, you need to understand. You see, the Quran is called the criterion. Yes, and it is something which supersedes everything that came before it.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Al-Furqan, the Quran is something which is called Al-Muhaymin. Yes, Al-Muhaymin, which means it basically supersedes everything that came before it, and it is what we believe as the truth. Everything else for us is irrelevant. So, for example, let me tell you, if there was no Torah remaining, not even a small part of it, yes, or there is no Injil remaining, not even a small part of it, it won't make an iota of a difference to us, because as far as we are concerned, we got the Quran with us, and the Quran is enough for our salvation.
Do you ever?
We don't need the Torah and Injil.
Do you ever think why there are no even fragmentary evidences of this Quranically acceptable Torah and Injil, which you are required to believe?
No,
why?
No, we are not required.
See this. Can I just read this one?
No, but hold on, Colin. With all due respect, I've asked you this several times now, and you always project the question back to me. So once again, I'm asking you, without using the Quran, without using anything else, how will you verify the message that Moses gave you, that you find in your Old Testament today?
I thought I actually had started to reply to that. It's because
how will you verify it?
Sure. As far as is humanly ascertainable, all the archaeological evidence and the confirmation of the two communities, the Christians and the Jews, all confirm what I've got in my possession are the earliest.
What do you mean by archaeological? So, have you got any archaeological evidence?
Do you know of any Jews? Do you know any Jews who reject the Tanakh?
Colin, I'm asking you. I'm not asking the Jews.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
Right.
Because you believe in the Old Testament from God. It's from God. Is that right?
I believe that the Old Testament is inspired by God and was accepted by the Jews whom we claim.
You mentioned archaeological evidence. Can you give me one archaeological evidence that Moses even existed?
One archaeological evidence.
Yes.
Well, you know, I could show you the.
Not that I don't believe Moses exists. Of course, as a Muslim, I believe Moses existed. But because you mentioned that to be your main criteria for verification, I would ask you, how would you verify that Moses even existed from archaeological evidence?
That is a very, very good point. Now, in the Torah, what we have, the Torah are the first 5 books. Some people use the word Torah interchangeably to mean the whole of the Old Testament, but the Torah isn't. It's the first 5 books.
No, actually, the Jews use a loose definition and a more specific definition.
It was disputed, but generally speaking, like in this Tanakh, it says Torah on the first 5 books.
First 5 books, that's fine. We can stick with that, no problem.
Hashim just said, what evidences have you got
to verify
Moses outside of this?
Yes. Archaeological evidences.
Right. Okay. Just bear with me one moment. Right. See this? This is a picture of the Temple of Solomon. Okay. You'll find within the first 5 books of the Torah enmeshed, meaning they're not isolated verses you can pull out. Within the first 5 books, going from Genesis through to Deuteronomy, the whole history of the people is enmeshed in God's presence with them in temple worship. So let's just examine the Temple of Solomon. I take it you agree there was such a thing as the Temple of Solomon?
No, but that diagram you got, that was a recent picture. It's not something that you find You cannot go to Israel and find the Temple of Solomon, take a picture of it. You know what I mean?
This is based on the archaeological foundations that they found in Jerusalem, but also taken from the descriptions within the Torah. And here we have, look, this is a little bit more. You can actually see where the Holy of Holies was. Okay, now this is, I'm glad we've kind of developed here, because
I still want to know.
I will.
Yeah, Moses existed.
No, the Jews.
So we know the temple existed. Let's say the temple existed. How do we know Moses existed then? If the temple existed, how do you know Moses existed? Because many people built temples then, back then.
You will find that in the Torah, the connection between Moses and God and the Jewish people from their captivity through to their release from captivity, through their journey in the wilderness, to the tabernacle which went with them, which was the tent of meeting where God dwelt, right through to the foundations of the temple, which was the house of God. And I've got every piece of evidence I need to...
I still can't connect that with Moses.
Okay.
How will you connect the dots to Moses?
Here we go.
Go on.
Right. Jews, when they pray in which direction? They pray towards the east. Okay? When they're outside of the land of Israel, they pray towards Israel. When they're in Jerusalem, when they're in Israel, they pray towards Jerusalem. When they're in Jerusalem, towards the temple. When they're in the temple, towards the Holy of Holies. Okay, this is an undisputed fact. This is the reason they do that. And why do they point towards the Holy of Holies? Because it was the dwelling place of God.
Still no Moses.
Well, if you want to have a look through the Torah,
No, you have to tell me. Colin, you have to tell me. The evidence for Moses. That's all. We're trying to establish that.
Okay. Right. The first action that happened to the Jewish people was when they escaped from the captivity in Egypt. And the Lord went before them by day and night in a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire. The Lord went with them. Moses was with them.
Is that from the Bible?
Moses,
is that from the Bible? So this is called circular reference. You said you'll provide something outside.
I'll get to the punchline, which is the temple.
Outside the Bible.
Which is the temple. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting. This is the proto-temple. What you see here is replicated in the foundation.
That's again a diagram which is made up by an artist.
No, I will break it down.
Anyway, let's see the evidence for Moses, because I still haven't seen one.
Now,
so you see how difficult it is even to produce simple evidence of the existence of Moses,
very,
let alone trying to find or verify what the Bible says or the Torah says that they hold today.
Okay.
And this is just based on Colin's earlier assertion that there is evidence, archaeological evidence. We haven't found any archaeological evidence to suggest that Moses existed so far.
Okay, have you found, has there been archaeological...
Don't ask me question for a question, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
just answer the question.
I'm going to make this statement. Right?
Go on.
The temple in Jerusalem very clearly shows that the Holy of Holies, the Ark of the Covenant, was placed in a sanctuary there, and you will see Moses' relationship all through the Old Testament. And the highlight of the whole thing is when God, who commanded this to be made...
That's made by an artist.
When that was placed, do you know where this ended up?
But that's made by an artist. Do you really think it looked like that?
Do you believe it existed?
It might have existed. I'm not saying that. I need evidence.
Do you believe it existed?
Colin, I even know Moses existed. Okay? But what I'm saying is because you made this assertion that we have archaeological evidence, X, Y, and Z, then I want to hold you to that standard. You see what I mean?
Sure.
So once you make a statement, you need to substantiate it. So far, Colin, you haven't provided a shred of evidence to suggest that Moses existed from outside the Bible.
Okay. Go. I'm talking to you, not to the camera. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I keep looking
you
at
can
it.
talk to me.
Okay. Hashim, can you see here, right? It actually shows a diagram of what was going on in the temple. Have you any knowledge about what goes on in the temple?
That wasn't my question.
No, but I'm going to build to the fact that Moses is intertwined with the whole of this history.
There was
of the
burnt
Jewish
offerings
people.
and all that going on in that particular temple.
Do you know what the Holy of Holies was all about?
It was where they used to provide the burnt offerings.
No, see, this is where, when we first had this conversation, I struggled to understand how Hashim and Mansour could not identify this.
You didn't ask me that.
The ark. No, when this is a long time ago. This is a long time.
But you didn't. That's the first time you're showing me that picture.
What, today?
Yes. That's the first time. First time you're showing me this picture. So do not claim that Hashim and Mansour couldn't identify that, because when you talk about the tabernacle, which is what you're trying to show me there, this itself, do you think it actually looked like that, Colin?
Yes.
How would you know that?
Because it's described in
That
here.
is made by an artist.
If you want to,
You don't have the artifact to provide evidence that it looked like that.
Here's one. Look,
Exactly,
And,
yes.
let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. The pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of its furnishings are supplied by God in the Torah, which you are required to
The
believe.
the pattern.
He designed it.
Okay, when you
God
say
designed it.
when you say the pattern,
Yes.
okay, which verse mentions the pattern that the design look exactly like that? Let's see now from the Bible. Go on.
Okay, so
Because I remember about the ark made by Noah. It gives the dimensions and everything. Okay, that's the same thing with the temple. It's got the dimensions and everything. But the ark of the covenant, the patterns, I would like to see that. Go on, from the Bible.
25:8. So what you're asking me, Hashim, is to
By the way, we
show
are again
you-
sidetracking because the question was about Moses.
Yeah.
The existence of Moses.
25. The existence of Moses.
Yes.
You believe Moses existed.
As a Muslim, I believe, based on my scripture, but because you use the standard of archaeology, I want to hold you for that particular standard that you asserted. So because you use archaeology, I would like you to show us an archaeological evidence, i.e. mention or particular inscription, like the hieroglyphics.
Sure.
They had inscriptions way before, even Moses' time, when they used to actually inscribe on the wall. So this particular statement that you made earlier, that we didn't have the papyrus, it would actually fall apart and all that. Look, there are other ways of preserving the text.
Hashim,
The papers are not the only one. The papyrus is not the only one.
What we have in Exodus, going from Exodus 38 through to 40, is where God actually commands a whole array of different things to be made. He actually puts the pattern for the high priest's breastplate, for the ephod, for everything else. And this is where it actually brings Moses into it.
No, bring the tabernacle, because you were going to show us the reference to the tabernacle.
Then they brought the tabernacle to Moses. Will that do you?
No,
then
that won't
they
do.
brought the tabernacle to Moses with a tent and its furnishings. They brought Moses and the tabernacle are intertwined. Would you agree?
So, Colin,
Yeah.
did you see any description of the tabernacle, what it looked like in that verse?
Okay.
Because I didn't.
Yeah. So you're saying
I'm
that
saying
you doubt?
No,
whether
I'm
he
saying
designed it?
you show me the evidence from the Bible that the tabernacle
Hashim,
looked like this.
Hold on to this for me.
Looked like this particular diagram by an artist.
Yeah.
Which has got
If
two
I
little
can.
cherubs on it,
Okay.
with wings. So you got children, basically children without clothes with wings. These are called cherubs.
Yeah.
Yes?
Angels.
Isn't this what the Lord is going to use in the heavens or something? Is going to be, I don't know if they'll be writing that or
you are.
something like that in the
Are
Bible.
you ready then?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. They shall make an ark of acacia wood. God is even telling you what wood it's made of. 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide. He gives you the dimensions.
Okay.
Right. Overlay it with pure gold. Overlay it inside and out, and make upon it a gold moulding round about. Cast 4 gold rings on it for the poles to go through. God is really giving you a lot.
Remember,
Hang on,
no-
Hashim,
there's
can
no
I
4
carry
rings
on?
here.
Hang on. Make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Then insert the poles into the rings and the side walls of the ark for carrying it. Look, you can see
That's
the
fine,
rings,
yeah, that's
right,
fine,
for
no
carrying the ark.
problem,
The poles shall remain and the rings of the ark shall not be removed. You shall make a cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide. Make 2 cherubim of gold. Make them of hammered work at the ends of the 2 covers. Make 1 cherub at one end and the other cherub at the other, and at one piece of cover you shall make a cherubim at 2 ends. This is very important. Do you know why the cherubim are there? Because you'll find
Why?
out. The cherubim shall have their wings spread out above, shielding the cover with their wings. They shall confront each other, the faces of the cherubim being turned towards the cover. Place the cover on top of the ark after depositing inside the ark the pact which I will give you. You have every single piece of this ark commanded by God, and you are totally incorrect.
Listen to this, Colin. Do you see this design here? No, listen.
You aren't
So
gonna say
basically,
what about this?
yes, everything. Because what you're saying is that if it looked exactly like that, then it should have every single detail. For example, this big circle in the middle, which looks like some sort of a symbol. I don't know exactly what it is, but no mention of that here. Then we got some drawings in the corners here. Again, no mention of that in that the description that you gave there. The cherubs, how do we know what they look like? Just because they're made of gold doesn't mean they have to look like that. So that's all. This is an artist description
what we've got
from the rough description in the Bible.
Two cherubs there, basically, and not put a picture. That's what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is that we cannot know exactly what it looks like. This is an artist representation, which is exactly what I told him earlier. There you go.
Have an idea.
Yes, you can have an idea.
Okay, can I just finish this off? Okay, what we have here is something that was commanded by God to be made. This is an artist's impression based on all of the instructions that God gave him. The two of those go hand in hand.
And a bit more.
Now,
And the artist added a bit more to
we
it.
also have Moses involved. He was receiving the instructions. Now, Hashim said, where does Moses fit in?
It doesn't. Just because an artist made an inscription, made a representation of the Ark of the Covenant based on the Bible description. Remember what he said? You said, you said you have archaeological evidence. Do we have the Ark of the Covenant in existence today?
No, we don't.
There you go.
No.
So it cannot be used as an archaeological evidence.
Okay.
What you're using again is circular reference from the Bible that it might have looked like that, and that's all it is. It has got nothing to do with archaeology.